Hey friends, welcome to the Time for Living podcast, your ultimate guide to finding the time you need to crush your business dreams while still having time to live your one beautiful life. I'm your host, Lucy Clark, a devoted boy mum, dedicated business owner and time-finding expert. Say goodbye to that I'm too busy mindset that's holding you back from growing your online business. No more feeling overwhelmed or stuck in the same place year after year. Each week, we'll dive deep into strategies for being intentional with your precious time so you can hit those business goals while still making time for yourself and your family. If you're ready to create more time, get practical tips and prioritize the steps that will make the biggest impact on your business and life, then you're in the right spot. Pop in your earbuds, steal a quiet moment, and let's find time together. Today, I want to talk about how every day you run your business without defined processes, you are making the same decisions you made yesterday. What to post, who to follow up with, how to handle this kind of inquiry. It feels like the work, but it's not moving you forward. There is actually a cost of not having a system, and it's coming directly out of the hours you thought you were spending on building something. Let's quickly recap about last week. We looked at the work that feels productive but isn't. The 4 confusion zones: website copy you've already refined, assets built before anything has launched, content planned but not published, existing clients overserved instead of new ones sold to. And the question I left you with, if I do this today and nothing else, is a sale more likely to happen this week? That question is a sorting tool. It tells you where to put the hour before the week fills up and the decision gets made for you by whatever is loudest. But sorting your tasks is one layer of this. There is a deeper layer underneath it, because the reason revenue-moving work keeps losing to everything else week after week, even when you know the distinction, it's not just about time. It's about how much energy it costs to operate your business at all. When every function in your business requires you to figure it out fresh each time, you arrive at your working hours already spending capacity before you have done a single thing that matters. This is what this episode is about. Not tasks, the operating layer underneath them, and what changes when that layer is no longer improvised. I want you to think about what actually happens in the first 30 minutes of a working day. Not what you intend to do, what actually happens. For most solo business owners, those 30 minutes involve a quiet series of micro decisions that never get named as decisions. What should I post today? Who do I need to follow up with? How should I respond to this kind of inquiry? Should I pitch to that person or wait? What is the most important thing right now? None of those feel like hard decisions. They feel like the natural start of a working day, like warming up, like just getting orientated. But each one draws from the same limited pool of cognitive capacity you have for the whole day. And when you are also a mum who has already made 20 million decisions before you open the laptop, that pool is not full when you arrive. The school run has decisions in it. The breakfast has decisions in it. The argument about whether someone needs a coat has decisions in it. You sit down to work already running a deficit. This is what I mean when I say a business that runs on improvisation is expensive to operate. Not expensive in money, expensive in the mental currency you cannot afford to keep spending. The business is not failing. It just costs more to run than it should. And the cost is invisible because it is paid before the visible work even starts. I want to be honest with you about something here. This is one of those things that can feel like a personal capacity problem when you are inside it. You wonder why you feel so depleted by midday. You wonder why the mornings feel like friction before they feel like momentum. The answer, almost always, is not that you are doing something wrong. It's that the operating layer of your business has not been defined. And undefined operating layers are exhausting by design. And I want to name something else because I think it matters. The women that feel this most acutely are often the ones who are doing the most. Not the ones who are disorganized or checked out, but the ones who are genuinely committed, genuinely working, genuinely trying to build something real inside a life that is already full. The effort is real. The capacity for it just keeps getting used up before it reaches the work that matters most. That is a design problem, not a you problem, and it has a design answer. What I want to give you today is a concrete picture, not a theory about systems. 5 specific business functions, each one shown in 2 states, improvised and structured. a direct comparison you can hold up against your own business. This is important because I think one of the reasons the word systems puts people off is that it sounds like a project, something to build, something to set up before you can benefit from it. What I want you to see is the benefit is the not building. It is in what stops being required of you every day once it is built. And seeing that clearly is what makes the building feel worth it. So for every function I'm going to describe, what it feels like before and what it feels like after. Not in terms of productivity metric or efficiency percentages, in terms of what it costs you and what it gives you back. Because that is the only measure that matters for a mum solo entrepreneur building a business inside a real life. Function 1 is the lead awareness. Before you post, when you feel inspired, when you have time, when you remember, when the week has not already run away from you, you chase engagement manually. You have no reliable way to know whether new people are discovering you, especially in a school holiday week when you have barely been online. The awareness question, is anyone new finding me right now, lives entirely in your head and gets answered with a feeling rather than a fact. After, a content rhythm runs on a defined cadence. New contents enter a clear path when they find you. You know what is happening without having to engineer it each week. On a Tuesday, when you have done nothing except the school run and a client call, something is still moving in the lead layer. What shifts? From uncertainty to visibility, from wondering to knowing, from having to be on it every day to having something that runs even when you're not. Function 2, follow-up. Before. You follow up based on your mental load that day. You remember the person you spoke to last week, or you do not. You mean to send the message, but then dinner happened and by the morning you have lost the thread. The people who could have become clients are falling through, not because they are not interested, but because the follow-up required you to remember them at exactly the right moment, which is a genuinely unreasonable thing to ask of someone running a full life. After, a sequence handles the initial follow-up. Your involvement is triggered at the right moment, not whenever you happen to remember between the school run and the afternoon pickup. The person who expressed interest 3 weeks ago gets reached, not because you were organised enough to remember them, but because the structure does that. And what shifts? From inconsistency to reliability. From following up on the people you remember to follow up on who are actually there. I want to name something about this one specifically. The follow-up gap is one of the quietest revenue leaks in a solo business. Not because the leads are not good, because the follow-up is entirely dependent on memory and bandwidth, both of which are in short supply. I have seen this change things significantly when it gets addressed, not because anything else changed, just because a follow-up started happening consistently. Function 3 is sales conversations. Before, each inquiry gets handled differently depending on how you feel, how busy you are, how clear you are that week. Some conversations move well, others drift. You cannot always identify why, and because there is no consistent process, you can't improve what you can't repeat. The conversation is different every time, which means learning from it is almost impossible. After, a defined process takes an interested person from inquiry to decision in a consistent, calm way. One you can run even on a hard week, not a script, a sequence, a shape. You know where the conversation is going, which means you can be fully present in it rather than half present and half figuring out what comes next. So what shifts? From pressure to process. From hoping the conversation goes well, to knowing what well looks like and being able to create the conditions for it. Function 4, client onboarding. Before, each new client gets a version of onboarding that depends on your bandwidth that week. Sometimes it's thorough. Sometimes it's a few emails and a hope they will know what they need. The client experience varies, and the mental load of doing it differently each time, trying to remember what you covered and what you did not, adds up in ways you did not always notice until you are doing a 4th new client in a month and you're exhausted before the actual work has started. After, a repeatable onboarding sequence runs. The client's experience is consistent. Your time is protected, whether it is a full working week or a week where life has other plans. And you are not recreating it from scratch each time, which means the energy that was going into figuring it out is now available for actual delivery. And that's what shifts. From effortful to automatic, from variable to consistent, from hoping you remembered everything to knowing you did because the structure covered it. Function 5, revenue awareness. Before, you roughly know how things are going. You have a sense of the month. You do the mental arithmetic when anxiety prompts you to. But there is no clear picture of the pipeline, no easy read on what is actually working, no way to answer quickly the question, is this month on track? The information exists somewhere, but it lives on spreadsheets you do not always update, emails you have to search for, and memory that is already carrying too much. After, a small set of indicators tell you the story without analysis. You can look at your business on any day, on any device in 5 minutes and know what is moving, what is converting, what needs attention. No black box, no reverse engineering, no having to hold it all in your head. So what shifts from vague to legible, from anxiety-driven checking to calm and forward-looking? And before I give you this week's action, I want to address something that might have come up as you were listening. If you are still making it up as you go across most of these functions, it is almost certainly not because you have not tried to build something better. It is because building structure requires protected thinking time, and that time has consistently been crowded out by everything else. The business that needs the structure is also the business that keeps demanding your attention before the structure can be built. That is not a discipline failure. That is a genuine structural trap. And it's particularly acute for a mum solo entrepreneur, because the window between what the business needs and what your available hours allow is already narrow. The method that got you here, responding, adapting, figuring it out, was right for where you were. It got you real results. It is simply not designed for the stage you're moving into. And the mental cost of running on improvisation when your life is this full is real and cumulative. And even when you cannot quite name it, recognizing this is not a reason to feel behind. It is a reason to feel orientated. You can see the gap now, and that is further forward than most people get. So your one thing this week is I want you to look honestly at the 5 functions and pick one where the before state costs you the most. Not where you should start, where the improvisation hurts the most right now, where the absence of a defined process is creating the most friction, the most inconsistency, the most mental load. Just name it, write it down. You're not fixing it this week. You are seeing it clearly, which is what this phase is for. Improvisation is a skill. A system is a decision you have only to make once, and then it keeps running while you get on with your life. The befores and afters I walked you through today are hypothetical. They are the specific, observable differences between a business that requires you to carry it and a business that carries itself. And the gap between those two states is not a talent gap or a commitment gap. It's a design gap. One function at a time. So I want you to sit with this. You do not have to build all 5 at once. You do not have to build any of them today. But seeing them clearly, knowing which one is costing you the most, having a name for the gap rather than just a feeling of friction, that is the work of this phase. And it matters more than most people give it credit for, because you cannot close a gap you've not been able to see. I think about what it would mean to move through a week where those 5 functions were running reliably, where the leads were coming in through a path you had defined, where the follow-up was happening without you having to hold it all, where the sales conversations had a shape you could trust, where the new client got the same experience whether you were having a full focused working week or a week where the boys were home and life had other plans, where you could look at your revenue picture in 5 minutes and know what was true. That is not a fantasy, that is a design. And it's built one function at a time, starting with the one that is costing you the most right now. The mornings that start with clarity instead of triage. The evenings you do not spend wondering what you should be doing tomorrow. The weeks where the business moves forward without requiring a daily act of will to keep it going. That is what's on the other side of this. Not a perfect system, a defined one. One that runs so you do not have to run everything yourself. And I want that for all of you. Next week, we are looking at why your business might feel messy even when you're doing things right. Because there is a specific transition point that creates exactly that feeling, and it has nothing to do with making mistakes. It has to do with outgrowing the method that built the business in the first place. If you've been wondering whether the difficulty you feel is a sign that something is wrong with you, next week is going to answer that. And the answer is no. Thanks for being here. I can't wait to see you next week. Hey friends, thank you so much for tuning in to the Time for Living podcast today. If this episode inspired you to take action and save time, I'd be so grateful if you could leave a written review and subscribe over on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback means the world to me and helps us reach even more amazing people like you. If you know a friend who needs to hear this message, Share this episode with them. And remember, your time is precious, so make every moment count. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep living, and keep making time for what matters most.